Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I want to welcome everyone here this morning. It's so good to see you, to celebrate four young women, because I can't call them girls, it's not PC. 4 young women who are honoring us by accepting their commitment and their channeling of learning into this service when they become Benot Mitzvah. Couple of notes for people. Some of you may not have worshiped with us before, so if you open the prayer book, the Mishkan Tefillah, to page 192. You'll notice on this page and the facing page, we usually use 2 pages together as a single unit. And so you see Hebrew. For those of you who read Hebrew, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't read Hebrew, you also know what I'm talking about. Next to the Hebrew is English transliteration. It means Hebrew words with English letters. So if you don't know the Hebrew prayers, you can try to read them in the English letters. And if you want to know what the prayer means, you look underneath, and that is the translation. On the opposite page, the facing page, there is generally 1 or 2 readings. Those are creative readings on the theme of the Hebrew prayer that is being done. So you can see those then, and sometimes we read one of those. So we generally take one of the parts, the Hebrew, the English, the translation, the creative, and after we finish that, you just turn the page. And when you turn the page, we'll be on our next reading. If we move more than 1 page at a time, we do announce that. So we encourage people to participate, join in the readings and the prayers, Hebrew and English. Please join in on the singing. If you know the tunes, use them. If you don't know the tunes, you'll pick them up. If you don't know the words, you can sing la-la. But we ask you kindly, do not accompany any of the music with electronic or digital sounds. Please look and check, because even when I say this, there's times, and then I give you the evil eye, and you don't want my evil eye. The other thing is, during the service, there is no picture taking in this sanctuary. I thank you very much. I want to share something. This week we have celebrated Solidarity, and there's a wonderful teaching in the Talmud. And that teaching is when a funeral procession and a wedding procession come to the crossroads and are about to cross, and they have to decide who goes first. It is the wedding that goes first. Our tradition teaches us that we have our joys, our celebration of Shabbat. They precede. We will get back to our mourning. We will get back to those thoughts. But when we celebrate, we are also bringing unity and solidarity into this world. So thank you for being here this morning. Shabbat Shalom. Page 192, Mato.
Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael, va'ani berov chastecha avo betecha, eshtachave el hekol koshecha be'iratecha, Adonai ahavti me'ol beitecha, u'makom mishkan kvodecha, va'ani eshtachave Evracha lifnei Adonai osi, va'ani tefilati lecha Adonai et ratzon, Elohim le'rov lechasecha, aneni be'emet yishecha.
May the one whose spirit is with us in every righteous deed Be with all who work for the good of humanity and bear the burdens of others, and who give bread to the hungry, who clothe the naked and take the friendless into their homes. May the work of their hands endure, and may the seed they sow bring abundant harvest.
We continue with Elohai Neshama.
Page 215, Ashrei. Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, Od Yahalelucha Selah. Ashrei Ha'am Shalom, Ashrei Ha'am Shalom Elohav. Tehillah David, Aromimcha Elohai HaMelech, Le'evrecha Shimcha, Le'olam Voed, B'kol Yom Avrechecha, Va'alei Shimcha Le'olam Voed. Gadol Adonai Umhulam Yod, V'li Tu'ato Ein Checher. Dor L'dor Yishalach Ma'asecha, U'gvurotecha Yagidu.
Hedar kavod hodecha, v'divrei niplotecha asika, v'zus norotecha yomeru, u'julatcha sabrina, sekir rav tuvaka yabiyu, v'zimkatka yeranenu, v'thimutuvaka Adonai, erakapayim u'dal chosen, Tov Adonai lakol, v'rakamav al kol ma'asav, Yoduk Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasideka yodchabelucha.
Kevod malchutecha yomeru, ugvuratcha yedaberu, lahodia livnei ha'adam gvurotav, ugvod ha'adam malchuto. Malchutacha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor.
Somer Adonai shol hanofim, somer v'kol hakruvim.
Einecho elecha yisaberu, ve'ata noten lehem et ochlam be'ito.
Tzadik Adonai b'chol derachav, v'chasid b'chol ma'asav. Karov Adonai l'chol korav, chol asher yikravu v'emet, ritzon yira'av ya'aseh. ואת שבתם ישמע ויושיעם. שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, את כל הרשעים ישמיד. תהילת אדוני ידבר פי, ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד. ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם. הללויה. Please turn to page 223. You shall always be praised, great and holy God, our sovereign in heaven and on earth. Songs of praise and psalms of adoration become you, acknowledging your might and your dominion. Yours are strength and sovereignty, sanctity, grandeur, and glory always. We offer our devotion, open our hearts in acclamation. Praised are you, sovereign of wonders, crowned in adoration, delighting in song, eternal majesty. Yitkadav, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, B'yama divrei cherute, V'yamlich malchute, B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael. Bagala, uvizman karib, v'yimeru, amen. Yeheshmei rabba mivora, le'olam u'omei abaya, yitparak, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitroman, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalel, shmei dekudashah brichu, v'ela min kol birchata, v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'yama, v'imeru, amen.
Turn to page 226 and rise, please. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam v'oed. Please remain standing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer or uvarei hoshech, Osei shalom uvarei et hakol, Hameir la'aretz, ve'ladarim amleha berachamim, uvtuvo mekadesh b'kol yom tamid, ma'aseh bereshit, Ma'rabu ma'asecha Adonai kulam b'kochma osita ma'amal ha'oretz kinyanecha titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shebach ma'aseh yadecha va'al me'orei or sheshita yifarucha sela or chadash al Zion ta'ir V'nizkei kulanu ne'ora le'oro, Baruch atah Adonai Yotzer Hamarot.
Please turn to page 230. 230, please. Ahava rabbah ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu, chemla gedolah v'teira hamolta aleinu, Ba'avur avotenu v'imotenu shebaku v'cha v'lamdem chukei chayim kain tikanenu utlamdenu hamrachem rachem alenu v'tein bilibenu l'chavin u'chashkil lishmoa lilmod u'lamed lishmor v'la'asot u'chayim et kol divrei Talmud Torateka ba'ahava v'cha'er einenu b'Torateka v'rabek libenu b'mitzvotecha v'yaked levavenu le'ahava u'yirah et shemecha v'lo nevosh v'lo nikalem v'lo nikashel le'elam va'ed ki v'shem kodshecha hagadol v'hanura v'taknu nagila v'nishmecha v'shuatecha v'chavienu l'shalom me'arba kanafot ha'aretz v'tolikenu komamiyu le'artzenu ki el po'el yeshuot ata uvanu v'charta v'kerabtanu l'shimcha hagadol sela be'emet l'chodot l'cha u'yachedka ba'ahava Baruch ata Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malkuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Ve'afta et Adonai Elohecha v'kol levavka u'v'kol nafshecha u'v'kol meldecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anoki mitzavcha hayom alevavecha Vishinantam levadaka vidibartabam vishiteka beveteka uvlekteka vaderem ushakbirka uvkumeka ukshaktam leod hayadeka vihayu litotafot beneneka Uvtatam al mizizopeteka uvishareka leman tizkaru va'asitem ekol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeti akem me'eretz Mitzrayim li'olachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Please turn to page 239 and read responsively with me. The eternal truth is that you alone are God and there is none else. Let them beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. You shall not hate your brother or sister in your heart. Why do you crush my people and oppress the poor, asked God? Praise to God Most High. Please turn to page 240.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, osei feleh, nora tehilot, osei feleh. Chadashah Shibahu Be'olim. L'shimcha al Savat Hayam. Yachad Kulam Hodu Ve'lim Lichu Ve'amru. Adonai Imloch, Adonai Imloch, Le'olam Va'ed. Tzur Yisrael, Kuma Be'ezrat Yisrael, Ufdei Kinyonecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael. Go'aleinu Adonai Tzivaot Shmo, Kadosh Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
Please rise. Page 242.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach Ufiyagita Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Mekoneh Hakol, Vetzoher Hasdei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Gemulah, Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Otzer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol Atah, Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv Roha, Muashiv Hagashem, Mechakel Hayim Behesed, Mechaye Hakol Berahamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofei Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emnato Lishanei Afar, Mihamoha Ba'al Gevurot, Umidol Elah, Melech Meini, Umahayeh, Limatzmiya Yeshua, V'ne'eman atay lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זאב זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך הארץ, כבודו, אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומות. אחד הוא אלוהינו, ואבינו מלכנו, ומושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור.
לדור ודור נגיד God לך.
Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated as we turn to page 250.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא מועד שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא מועד שבת. מקדש שני שבת. כולם ישבעו ויתפללו מדבר השבת. אוי ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא מועד שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא מועד שבת. והשביעי רצית וקידשת שבת. חמדת ימים אותו קראת שבת. אוי ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא מועד שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא מועד שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא מועד שבת. שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא מועד שבת.
Please turn to page 252. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, ritzei v'mnuchatenu, kadshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'tein halkenu v'toratecha, sab'enu mituvecha, v'samchenu b'shu'atecha, v'taher libenu li'ovdecha be'emet, v'hanchilenu Adonai Eloheinu, b'ahava uvratzon Shabbat kodshecha, ve'yanuchu va'Yisrael mekadeshei shamecha, Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
Page 254. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, utvilatam be'ahava takabel, uti l'ratzon tamid, avodat Yisrael amecha, el korov l'chol korav, pnei el avadecha v'chonenu, shefo ruchacha aleinu. V'tahezena einenu b'shuvcha, L'Tzion berachamim, Baruch atah Adonai hamahatzir shekinato L'Tzion.
Adonai
all these things, O Sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hato shimcha ucha na'el lehadot.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, הן וחסד ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך, ברכנו יוצרנו כולנו כאחד, באור פניך, כי באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו. שים שלום, טובה וברכה, הן וחסד ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך, תורת חיים ואהבת חסד ואהבת חסד, ותפילות וברכה ורחמים וחיים ושלום.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל
עמך, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברוך אתה אדוני, המברך את עמו ישראל, וכל העולם בשלום. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel and all your world with peace. Let's take a few moments for silent prayer and reflection.
Razzoni prefi
We'll now turn to our Seder Kriyat Torah, our section for Torah reading, which you can find on page 362. This time I'd like to call to the Bima to assist with the ark opening, Nancy Zawacki and Francis Manley. I want to call up Norman Liederman to assist with the holding of the Torah, and call up Ava, Caleb, and Maggie Mendler to assist with undressing the Torah. Page 362.
En kamoch hava Elohim Adonai, v'gemasecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memsholtecha bechol dor v'ador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai Mloch, Le'olam v'oed. Adonai os le'amo yiten, Adonai mareh et amo b'shalom. Aharachimim, eitiva v'irtzonecha et Zion. Tivnei chomat Yerushalayim, tivnei chomat Yerushalayim. Ki b'chol levan batachtu, melech el ram v'nisa, Adon olamim.
Eitz Chaim He, this is our tree of life. We keep it alive by learning it, by chanting it, by teaching it. So today, 4 of you have kept this tradition strong by your commitment. And this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, u'devar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah.
Torah portion this morning is from Chayei Sarah. Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah. And even though it begins with talking about her death, it starts with life. Life is the key issue here. Life is what we crave, a good life, a healthy life. And so we will have readings from two sections in this parsha. The first will be from chapter 23 at the beginning on page 154. Oh yes, it's in the book, the Torah, not in the prayer book. Thank you, Dennis. Could you be here every week to help me with that? Ta'amod Miriam Bat Sarah Uverol David La Torah Rishona L'Ba Mitzvah. For the first aliyah, I call up Peggy Cherkasky. Kiss.
Wait, I like mine.
Kiss.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
It's convenient. Vayiyu Chayei Sarah Me'ah Shana V'esrim Shana V'sheva Shanim Shanei Chayei Sarah Vatamat Sarah B'kiryat Arba Hiv Chevron Ba'eretz Canaan Vayavo Avraham Lispod L'Sarah V'liv Kota Vayakam Avraham Me'al Panei Meito Vayidaber al B'nei Chei Lemur Ger v'toshav Anochi Imachem Chanu li achuzat kever imachem v'ekbra meti milfanai vayanu v'nechet et Avraham lemor lo Shema'enu Adoni Nisi Elohim Ata B'tochenu B'mivchar Kivarenu Kavor Et Meitecha Ish Mimenu Et Kivaro Lo Yichala Mimcha Mikavor Meitecha. Oh, I forgot. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torat Emet V'chayei Olam Nata B'tochenu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Wonderful. Continuing with verse 7. Tamod Voralea Bat Chana Gittel V'chaim LaTorah Shenit Labat Mitzvah. Now call up Donna Liederman for the second Aliyah.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Michol Ha'amim V'neitan Lanu et Torato Baruch Abotah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Right here, right here. Vayacham Avraham, Vayishtahulam haaretz livanei chet, Vaydaber itam lemor, im yesh et nafshechem, likbor et meti milfanai shamayuni ufiguli be'afron ben zochar vaitan li et maharat hamachpelah asher lo asher Bikatzei sadehu v'kesef malei yitnina li v'tochakem lakuzat kaver ve'efron yoshev v'toch v'nei Vayan Ephron Hachiti It et Avraham Va'asnei V'nei Lacho Va'esha Ariro Lemor Lo Adoni Shama'eni Hasadeh Natati lach ve'hamora asher bo lecha natatia la'enei v'nei ami natatia lach chavor meitecha vayishtahu Avraham Lifnei am haaretz. Oops, forgot. I wanted to just give you congratulations. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam. Vetokenu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Thank you.
We're now moving to chapter 24, verse 17. That can be found on page 158 in the book, the Torah. Tamod Ruth Chana bar Avraham v'Sarah LaTorah Shlishit Laba Mitzvah. I now call up Carol Goldsmith.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'karbanu l'kol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torto, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Hayarat ha'evan, likrata hayomer, hagami'ini na, me'ap mahai mikadei, hatohomer shite Adoni, bat maher, hatored kada, al yadav atashkehu, hakol hashkoto, hatomer, gam ligmaleka eshav, adim kilu lishato, bat maher, ad arkada, el hashoket, Taraton, El Haber, Lishao, Batish Av, Lekol Gemalav, Bahaish Mishta Eila, Makarish, Ladad, Ahitli, Akadonai, Darko Imalo, Ayahi. Asher kilu hagmalim lishatod ayika ha'ish nazem zahav beheka mishkalo ushnei zemidim al yadecha asara zahav mishkalam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tukenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Tamod, Chava Bat Abraham Sarah La Torah, Revi La Baba Tzva. And now to call up Tisha Valley for the fourth Aliyah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu mechol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayomer bat mi'at hagadina li hayesh betavi makom lanu lalim. Vatomer elav bat betuel anohi ben milka asher yalda lenahor. Vatomer elav gam teven gam mispod ravimanu gam makom lalun. Vayikod haish vayishtahu ladonai. Vayomer Baruch Adonai Elohei Adoni Avraham asher lo atzav hasto va'amito me'im Adoni Anohi Bateret Nahani Adonai Beit Ahai Adoni Vataret Hana'ara Vataget Levet Ima Kadvarim Ha'ele. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Thank Dennis for being up here as Gabbai. Dennis is their trope teacher, and you see, he's the master. Yamod HaMagbiah, Tamod HaGolelet. I'd now like to call up Jason Mendler to lift the Torah, and Logan Hiller to assist with dressing the Torah. I ask the congregation to please rise.
וזאת התורה ששמה שלפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 לי, יאי לי 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 יאי לי לי יאי לי
Please be seated. The Haftarah for this morning can be found on page 169, and it comes from the first book of Kings, chapter 1. The students will chant the blessing before, the Haftarah portions, and the blessing after. Page 169.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar b'nivim tovim v'ratza v'divrehem hane'emarim ba'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'Nevi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. V'hamelech David Zakein Bayamim Vayakasu Bagadim Velo Yicham Lo Vayomru Lo Avadav Yevakshu Ladoni HaMelech Ne'era V'tula V'amada Lifnei HaMelech Utilo Sochenet V'shachva V'chekecha V'cham Ladoni HaMelech Vayavakshu Ne'era Yafa B'chol Givu Yisrael Vayimtzu Et Avishag Hashunamit ויביאו אותה למלך. והנערה יפה עד מאוד, ותהי למלך סוכנת, ותשרתהו, והמלך לא ידעה. ואדוניה והנהגית מתנסה לאמור, אני אמלוך. ויעש לו רכב ופרשים, ו50 איש רצים לפניו.
ולא עצבו אביו מימיו לאמור, מדוע ככה עשית? וגם הוא טוב תואר מאוד, ואותו ילדה אחרי אבשלום. ויהיו דבריו עם יואב בן צרויה ועם אביתר הכהן. ויצרו אחרי אדוניה וצדוק הכהן ובניהו בן יהוידע ונתן הנביא ושמעי ורעי והגיבורים אשר לדוד לא היו עם אדוניהו. ויצבק אדוניהו זון ובקר ומרי עם אבן הצוחלת אשר אצל אין רוגל. ויקרא את כל אחיו בני המלך וכל אנשי יהודה עבדי המלך, ואת נתן הנביא ובניהו ואת הגיבורים ואת שלמה האיב לא קרב.
וירץ ויאמר נתן אל בת שבע אם שלמה לאמור, הלא שמעת כי המלך אדוניהו בן הגיד ואדוננו דוד לא ידע. ואתן לכי ייצג נא עצה ומלאתי את נפשך ואת נפש בני שלמה. לכי ובואי אל המלך דוד ואמרתי לך, הלא אתה אדוני המלך, נשבעת לאמתך לאמור, כי שלמה בני ימלוך אחרי, והוא ישב על כיסאי. ומדוע Malak Adoniyahu, Hine Odak, Medaberet Sham Im HaMelech, Va'ani Avo Acharaik, Umileti Et Divoraik. Vatavo vacheva el hamelech hachadra v'hamelech zaken me'od va'avishag hafshu namid misharad et hamelech vatikod vacheva vatishtahu lamelech Vayomer HaMelech Malach.
Vatomer lo Adoni Atani Shpata Adonai Elohecha Lamatecha Ki Shlomo V'nech Yimloch Acharai V'hu Yeshev Al Kisi V'ata Hine Adonia Malach Va'ayiti Adoni HaMelech Lo Yadata Vayitzbach Shur Umorivatson Larov Vayikra L'kol B'nei HaMelech U'Evyatar HaKohen U'Yohav Sar HaTzavah V'Lishlomo Avdacha Lo Karav Va'ata Adoni HaMelech Einei Kol Yisrael Alecha Lahagid Lahem Mi Yeshev Al Kisei Adoni HaMelech Acharav Vahaya Kishkav Adoni HaMelech Im Avotav Vahayiti Ani Uveni Shlomo Chatayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Tzur kol haolamim Zadik b'kol hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Hamorer ve'oseh Hamdaber u'mkayeh Shekol dirav emet v'tzedek Al ha'torah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al ha'nevi'im ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu L'kedusha v'lemenucha L'chavod U'tifaret Ahakol Adonai Eloheinu
אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך, יתברך שמך לפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
We're now going to turn back in our prayer books to page 374. At this time, I would like to call up Allison Cherkasky and Jacob Solomita to assist with the opening of the ark. Please rise.
כי הללויה שמרנב, כי נזכר שמו לבדו, אדון ארץ ושמיים, וירם גר לעמו, תהילה לכל חסידיו, לבני ישראל, המקרבו. הללויה, הללויה, כי לכך טוב נתתי להם, תורתי אל תעזבו. עץ חיים היא, המחזיקים בה, ותומכיה מאושר, דרכיה דרכנם, וכל נתיבותיך שלום שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו תתקדם.
Please be seated. And now the Benot Mitzvah women, because they've had their aliyot, so they're now women, will share their thinking and their Devar Torah, the explanation of their Torah and Haftarah portion.
Sarah is our first matriarch and the only woman whose name is in the title of a parsha. Our Torah portion, Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah, covers events that occur after her death. Sarah died at the age of 127, and her grieving husband, Abraham, wanted to acquire a burial plot for her in the city of Hebron. This plot was located in the Machpelah cave, surrounded by a field owned by Ephron the Hittite. Ephron wanted to give him the land as a plot, but Abraham insisted on purchasing the land for full price at 400 shekels. After Sarah's burial, Abraham's first task was to ensure future generations by finding a mother for the Jewish people. He summoned Eliezer, his servant, to be sent to the homeland to find a wife for Isaac. As Eliezer approached the well, he prayed for guidance so that he could do a kindness for his master. In order to fulfill this obligation, Eliezer would ask maidens at the well for a drink of water. The one who would answer certainly, and I'll also give your camels a drink as well, would be destined to be Isaac's wife. Of all the maidens, Rebekah was the one who passed the test. Subsequently, she returns to the land of Canaan to marry Isaac. Rebekah's family sent her off bestowing a blessing that her descendants would become 1,000-fold. Isaac loves her and is comforted over the loss of his mother. The themes of our Torah and Haftorah portions are about continuing family legacy and keeping the covenant with God. In our Haftorah portion, King David must oversee the succession of the throne in a similar vein as when Abraham had to accept Sarah's death and provide for Isaac's future. King David was aging and perpetually cold. A young maiden was recruited to provide warmth for the elderly monarch. Meanwhile, Adonijah, one of David's sons, seeing his father's decline, proclaimed he would be king, despite David's wish that Solomon would succeed him. Nathan the prophet told Solomon's mother, Bathsheba, to approach the king to reaffirm his choice of Solomon as successor. Bathsheba told him of Adonijah's actions, of which the king was unaware. After this meeting, Nathan joined them both to support her requests. The king took an oath and said, "Just as I once swore to you by the God of Israel that your son Solomon would rule after me and sit on my throne, I will carry it out this very day." Both the Torah and Haftorah portions contain the most basic and important lessons in our tradition: how to live, how to die, and to keep the covenant for future generations.
Given a voice, who would you want to succeed you? What expectations would you have of them? What attributes will they need to have? Who will influence your decisions? In the Torah portion read 2 weeks ago, God made an agreement with Abraham during which the covenant was established. It was a partnership wherein if Abraham and his descendants kept the ways of God, becoming a light unto the nations, then God would reward them by making them a great and populous nation. Continuing this covenant is threaded throughout our Torah and Haftorah portions, and its continuation is Abraham's expectation of his successors. Who would succeed Sarah? Who would succeed Abraham? Who would eventually succeed Isaac? And who would succeed King David? What attributes did their successors need to have? To find the answers, we must take a closer look at the Torah and Haftorah portions. Before Sarah died, she wanted Abraham to send Hagar and Ishmael away. Ishmael, being the eldest son, would someday have been first in line to succeed Abraham. Abraham did not want to send him away, but God intervened and told him to listen to Sarah's voice. Sarah's influence opened the door for Isaac to become Abraham's successor. When Sarah died, Abraham used his influence to arrange the marriage of Isaac to Rebekah, Rebekah having the same qualities or attributes as Sarah. Abraham was sure this would be an important factor in the continuation of the covenant. In next week's portion, Rebekah will then use her influence to make certain that not Esau, the eldest son, but Jacob instead would succeed Isaac. In our Haftorah portion, we read that nearly 800 years after Abraham died, King David was approaching death and was therefore concerned about who would succeed him as king. Bathsheba, as you heard, wanted her son Solomon, not Adonijah the eldest, to be the one to continue the covenant. Just like in the movies, things didn't go smoothly. However, in the end, because of Bathsheba's influence, Solomon was named to succeed King David as heir to the throne. Commentators suggest that God guided the process because it was Solomon, not Adonijah, who had the attributes necessary to make sure the covenant was preserved. So let's go back to the beginning. Who would succeed Sarah, Abraham, Isaac, and King David? What were the attributes, expectations, and influences surrounding those decisions? Sarah made sure Isaac, not Ishmael, succeeded Abraham. Abraham used his influence to have Rebekah replace Sarah. And in time, Rebekah made sure Jacob, not Esau, succeeded Isaac. Bathsheba made sure Solomon, not Adonijah, succeeded King David. An unexpected pattern emerges. In the patriarchal society of these times, it was really the matriarchs, the women of this story, who had tremendous influence in choosing the successors.
In this week's Torah portion, I was struck by how central the themes of love and marriage were to carrying on the traditions of the Jewish people. In particular, there is something about the selflessness in the love and marriage between Isaac and Rebekah that really resonated with me. It also reminds me of the simple message and probably timely message in the Beatles hit, "All you need is love, love, love is all you need." When it was time for Isaac to find a wife, his father Abraham sent his servant back to the homeland to find a wife. Why does he want Isaac's wife to come from their homeland? He hopes this will ensure the continuation of Jewish traditions, religion, and values for future generations. It is thus not surprising that Abraham's servant chooses Rebekah, not for her physical beauty, but for her generosity, selflessness, and kindness. Rebekah agrees to marry Isaac, and when she sees Isaac for the first time, she takes a veil to cover herself. Her act of veiling herself, a Jewish tradition called bedekin, shows her commitment to continuing his traditions and those of Sarah's. Maybe it didn't matter how much they knew each other or loved each other at the time of their marriage. The Torah says Isaac brought her to the tent of his mother Sarah. She became his wife, and he loved her. In Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch's commentary, there is importance in the order of the love coming after the wedding and not before. He says the wedding is not the summit of the love, but rather the seed from which a strong love would grow. It is thought that Isaac and Rebekah had a strong love in marriage, and I think this is shown in that Isaac only takes one wife, Rebekah, in a time where polygamy was the norm. Also throughout the Torah, we learn that Isaac and Rebekah lived through many hardships together, which may have given them a foundation for loyalty and trust. What is clear is that the love and commitment that Rebekah and Isaac shared was profoundly important, not only to their marriage, but to their community and the Jewish people. Through Rebekah, the traditions and values could be continued for future generations. When I met my husband, Jason, we were in college, and shortly after we met, he informed me that his future children were going to be raised Jewish. He needed to make sure I understood how important that was for him before we continued our relationship. That was 23 years ago. I was 19, and I didn't really understand the importance of that, or how hard it was for him to bring a non-Jew into the fold of his family. I did know that I loved him, and part of loving him would be honoring this wish. Like Rebecca, I too covered myself with a veil during Bedekin. And now, more than 20 years later, a bit more than 20 years later, I am in the midst of raising our Jewish children. And today, I stand on the bima at my own bat mitzvah. I now understand, as I have my own love for the Jewish people and traditions, because all you need is love. Love. Love is all you need.
At this point, we know some of the rituals mentioned in this Torah portion that had been carried out by Abraham, other forefathers and mothers, and have continued through the ages. We need to look at another important set of rituals that were also established and are practiced to present day. Although this portion is titled Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah, the content is about her death. Why? Sarah's death documents how Abraham established mourning rituals to honor her memory. He then rose from his mourning and moved on with his life to fulfill the covenant and carry out Sarah's wishes. Hence, the legacy of Sarah was born. Abraham purchased Machpelah to secure a burial site for Sarah. He also mourned and grieved for her. He honored her legacy. More important, however, we see in this Torah portion the basis for the survival of the Jews through the ages. Abraham rose up from mourning to get on with life. His example serves as a basis for the strength of our people and our beliefs. We honor those who have gone before us. We often pray to them for strength. Most of all, we remember the positive attributes of those who have gone before us and try to emulate them. It is our roadmap to function in the world we are given. Chaye Sarah states the foundation for how we live our lives, both in times of grief and joy. In Jewish life, we observe the rituals of mourning set into specific time periods. Anyanut, is the period between death and burial. Shiva is the 7-day period of mourning after burial. Shloshim includes the time of Shiva and continues for a total of 30 days with lighter restrictions. Avalut goes on for a year. Each of the rituals in these periods aid in the process of mourning, grieving, and adapting to the new normal in our lives. Many of my non-Jewish friends have mentioned how they wish they had a period of Shiva to bridge the loss of a loved one. We also say Kaddish on the Yortzeit Day to remember our loved ones and to continue their legacy. So, how do we sum up this Torah portion and apply it to our everyday lives? I had to get Broadway in here somehow, and here we go. When the creators of Fiddler on the Roof were rehearsing the production, they were very concerned that the show was not going to make it because it was a Jewish show and would only appeal to a Jewish audience. They brought in Jerome Robbins to figure out what to do. He watched everyone and listened to the score. He then said, "This show is about tradition. Every culture on earth has tradition. Write a song about tradition and everyone who sees the show will relate to it. Chaye Sarah is about tradition. It is our job to keep those traditions, not only for our well-being, but to also honor those who have gone before us." May I have ladies up here, please? I hope I can do this From here on in, I will be speaking for Carol, Peggy, Tisha, and me. For the past 2.5 years, the four of us have been studying to reach this day. We did not do it alone. We now need to speak of another Jewish tradition, recognizing and giving gratitude to those who taught, supported, and guided us along the way. Rabbi Katz. Our words can never convey the appreciation we have for all of your knowledge, empathy, and leadership. These past few years, you were not just preparing us to get up here today and recite our assigned parts. We now have a better understanding of where we came from, who we are, and how to be a better, responsible Jewish person. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. If ever you need anything or to know about anything about trope, Torah, and Haftorah chanting, call on Dennis Goldsmith. Dennis, your dedication and patience while teaching us goes above and beyond the call of duty. Your love of Torah and Haftorah has shone through during the many hours you have spent with all of us. Thank you so very much. We thank Ilana Dar and Ellen Goldenberg for supplying us with the audio CDs and tapes. We also want to thank Zed Nasser for teaching us how to use Dropbox so we could listen and practice our prayers, Torah and Haftorah portions. Rabbi Till, where are you, dear? Okay. Although we did not work directly with you, we felt your presence when seeing you and passing at temple, especially your encouraging words and your warm smile. Thank you. Cantor Braun and Elise. We thank you for contributing musically to our service today. As Rabbi Katz says, you truly are our two musical angels. We appreciate you both more than we can express. Thank you. We want to thank our families. They have listened to us, calmed us, and understood our absences both of mind and body when classes, meetings, and studying came first. The four of us also thank each other. We each have 3 new people in our hearts forever. They may not have gotten there had we each not decided to have a bat mitzvah. The gift of these friendships has been an extra added highlight of this experience. We also would like to thank Temple Sinai and its congregants for the love and support that greets everyone who walks through the door. Our gift in honor of our Benot Mitzvah is a donation to the Torah Restoration Fund. We love you all and so appreciate all of you for being here to celebrate our Benot Mitzvah. Thank you.
Stay up, don't go anyplace. Yeah, and now I want to call up our president, Blanche Fenster, to present certificates and a little gift from the temple for all of them, all of our Benot Mitzvah.
So it is my honor on behalf of the Board of Trustees, the congregation, and every one of your family and friends, and all our guests here today, to wish you each a mazel tov on becoming a bat mitzvah. Now, normally when we have younger women up here, we talk about how it's the beginning of their journey. And I know each and every one of you has had a very different journey to get to this point today. And I just hope that the rest of your journey is filled with the joy that you give us in being here. And it's terrible, I even tear up at my own numbers about this. The parsha this week was Hayei Sarah, and each of you is like Sarah, like our matriarch. You are a woman that we all can emulate. And I thank you for that, and I thank you for being here, and I wish you only joy going forward. So, we have for each and every one of you a certificate of becoming a bar mitzvah. Your certificate of becoming a bar mitzvah. And for each and every one of you also, we have a travel edition of the Torah, so that you can continue on this journey that you've helped us all on. And again, mazel tov.
Wow. I'm so proud of these wonderful women. I have to tell you, bar and bat mitzvah kids, when they're 13, have a little bit of nerves. Multiply that, since they're all about 39, 3 times, and think that they did so beautifully. They were ready about 6 months ago, and I just thank you. I want to thank Dennis also for teaching them the trope, Torah and Haftorah, for working with them, rehearsing with them on their journey, and the others who helped them along the path. Ellen Goldenberg, I know, was involved, and just thank everybody who supported them. And I want to thank your families, because having felt from them what they were going through during these couple of years, I realized what you must have been going through. But you didn't get to listen to the Haftorah on the bus in Tuscany, so it's just not the same. So when I look at this portion that you chanted so beautifully, Chaye Sarah, and the Haftorah, it's messages of transitions. The first is of one generation to the next. And at bar bat mitzvah services, our 13-year-old youngsters, usually we pass down the Torah from grandparents to parents and then to students. Today, that passing of the chain of tradition is more symbolic, with mothers and grandmothers being here after years of intense study. And as Rabbi Till whispered to me during the service, boy, do you work them hard. In fact, you're saying you're passing the tradition down by receiving it yourself. You're saying that to the next generations. And that's important. Our tradition will continue, and we will be the carriers of that for ourselves and for the next generation. So we began the portion with the death of Sarah, and later in the portion we read of the death of Abraham. The next generation of tradition carriers from Jewish perspective are to be Isaac and Rebekah. The early patriarchal and matriarchal stories demonstrate that not all biological offspring end up carrying on the tradition. And 2 examples of this are descendants Ishmael and Esau. They did not carry on the same tradition. From that reality, there is a message that some of their descendants are willing and able to transmit the holy gift, the gift of Jewish heritage, to the next generation. It's not biology, it's commitment, as you have demonstrated here today. Now, another transition is found in a different section of our parsha. That is in the transition from death and mourning to marriage and future life. In Genesis 24:67, we read, Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah. He took Rebekah, she became his wife, and he loved her. You heard one commentary on that. But thus did Isaac take comfort after the death of his mother. Here we have a transition from grief to comfort. Isaac is now ready to love a woman and begin a family.